Today we'll be talking about rendering tools in Enscape called multi-asset placement, and this tool will allow us to populate and fill out neighborhood context and site context. So for example, that might be infilling vegetation and entourage, and these are the general steps we'll be looking at today. We'll do a pre-check. We'll look at how we want to distribute the assets. We'll pick the mix of assets. We'll set the distribution, and then we'll generate the entourage. So here's our pre-check list. We'll want to make sure that there is a render asset workset created in the model. We'll also want to have the surfaces in the model set up. So whether that's subdivisions on your topo solid or the floors or roofs, etc., you'll want to have those modeled and in place. And then before generating any of these assets, you'll want to sync and save your file in case the model crashes. And the next section, we'll go through the workflow. So general steps will be to select the paint surface, select the assets to mix, set our preferences for distribution. We'll generate the assets and then adjust the location and placement of those afterwards. Go into Revit here, show the workflow. So based off our pre-check, we'll look at the work sets. So I'm going to collaborate and then work sets. And we have two in this file, one for render assets and one for render landscape if you want to separate those out for visibility reasons. So we'll just hit OK. And then prior to doing anything else, we'll want to make sure our active workset is render assets. So anything we model will be automatically placed into those. In our next step, we'll double check our surfaces. So this model has a topo solid, and I've placed subdivisions indicating hardscape and landscape areas, so you can see here. And we also have floors modeled, so elements can be hosted to those as well. And in our next step, we'll open Enscape. So go to the Enscape tab and click Start. So once we have Enscape open, we can go to the asset library, and that's up here. We click on that. We're opening all of our assets here. And to access the multi-asset placement tool, we'll click on it over here on the left-hand side. In this bottom left corner, this allows us three options for how we want to locate where we place the assets. For this tutorial, I'll show the bucket selection, which lets us pick surfaces. So I'll pick the hardscape and walk through how to fill that with people. So left-click that surface. And then the next step we'll take is choosing which entourage to include here. So we'll look at this asset library toolbar over here and search for walking. So we can include people that are walking. We'll just want to pick a pretty significant amount of people so that there's no duplication or concern about seeing the same person standing next to each other. And before I continue, I'm going to quickly change the density to something a bit lower so we're not getting too many people in here just yet. So I'll just pick a couple different assets here, different people, just get a healthy mix. And once you've chosen your assets, you can see all of them in this bottom bar here. If you want to remove somebody or some entourage from this list, you can just click the uncheck button next to their thumbnail. So now that we've picked out our desired assets, we can go to set the distribution. So in this section here in the bottom ribbon, we have some options on how we want to distribute these assets. So the top row lets us increase or decrease the density. So we can set it to somewhere below half. And then this next section, distribution, allows us to choose how the assets are placed on the surface. So currently it's set to random. There's a jitter option. There's also a uniform option, which is not great for people, but possibly useful for vegetation. But we'll stick to random for this example. And then by default, random rotation is checked. So that means the people will be randomly rotated, make it more realistic that way. You can uncheck that if you don't want the items to be rotated. And then in this last section on the bottom right, there's a couple options for generating the assets. From here, you can see the white outlines of what Enscape is proposing for the location and distribution of the assets. If you don't like it or you want to see a different layout, you can click the Regenerate button. Enscape will give you a number of options. And then once you're happy with how things are laid out, you can click the Confirm Placement button. And then click the Apply Changes button. And this will place all of the Enscape assets into the Revit model. So now that that process is complete, we can hit the Escape button and look at the different assets placed on the hardscape subdivision. And this tool automatically hosts the assets to any surface that you choose. So that's one less step you'll have to take. We close Enscape, and in Revit, you can see these assets here. If you want to remove any of these, you can just select them individually, delete them, move them around. If you move them, you'll need to readjust their hosting so that they're hosted properly to whatever surface you've chosen.